What's up folks, CrushSG, and it seems like Cyberpunk is getting another big update soon, with potential gameplay stuff. Now, I gotta say that I'm pleasantly surprised. I was not expecting the game to get another large update, especially considering everything that has been reported in the media so far, with Witcher 4 and them moving to the Unreal Engine for the next installment of Cyberpunk. I just figured maybe we get one more small patch with minor bug fixes and that's it. Well, according to an official tweet, it says, on December 5th, the same day that Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition hits the shelves, we'll release a free update 2.1 introducing new and hotly anticipated gameplay elements. Now, reading that immediately got me thinking, what new gameplay elements could they possibly be adding that would also be considered hotly anticipated? And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Here is my top 5 list of gameplay elements that I hope to see in Update 2.1. In no particular order of importance, the first would be more random world events and gigs. Now, I think a really cool but highly underused feature in Cyberpunk is the random vehicle gigs for the fixer El Capitan. Yes, I know between the static gigs, NPCD events, side missions and cyber cycles, there is a fair bit of content in the game already. But when you are approaching a 4-digit playtime like myself, there is really only that much replay value in the static stuff. So yeah, I'd love to see them add a couple more categories of randomly generated gigs and events, or perhaps even give each of the fixers their own category of randomly generated gigs. That alone will go a long way to adding more replay value to the game. And speaking of replay value, one element that I know is universally anticipated, and I'm pretty sure it'll be coming in 2.1, is an official New Game Plus mode. Now, for those unfamiliar with the term, New Game Plus simply refers to an augmented restart of the game that becomes available after having completed the game once before. New Game Plus modes can allow certain items to be carried over to the next playthrough, select progression can be carried over, perhaps expanded difficulty settings, and it could even allow for skipping of certain parts of the game that were previously mandatory in the first playthrough. Right now, the only way to have a somewhat New Game Plus experience is either via modding or by editing a save file and then using the console to ensure that your save file includes everything you want to start a new playthrough with. Overall, an official New Game Plus mode is the most logical step that any single-player RPG can take to create more replay value. Again, I'd be very surprised if this is not one of the features included in 2.1. It is just too logical for them to skip it. Okay, number 3, and this is more of a personal, hopeless wish for me, because I don't think they'd ever devote the resources or time required to do this at this point. And that is for them to implement VR support for the game, virtual reality. For those of you who don't know, Cyberpunk actually has a couple of very capable third-party VR mods available, one by Luke Ross and the other by Vorpx. I apologize for just talking about these mods without actually showing VR gameplay. I cannot for the life of me figure out how to capture high-quality usable gameplay footage from my Quest 3 headset. That, and I don't really want you to see me in my ultra-fabulous VR getup. Jokes aside though, it genuinely feels like Cyberpunk was made to be played in VR. And if you thought the game already looked great in 4K on a monitor, trust me, Cyberpunk in VR is just breathtaking.
You're breathtaking!
So if you are remotely into VR, you absolutely need to try one of the VR mods, which I'll link in the description of course. Luke's mod requires a Patreon subscription, whereas Vorpx is free, and I'm not sponsored by Luke in any way. I don't know him, but I'll just say that I think his mod is definitely worth the Patreon subscription if you want the best VR experience for Cyberpunk. That said, a disclaimer, VR is extremely GPU intensive, so having a pretty beastly GPU is kind of a hard requirement here. I would not personally recommend playing Cyberpunk in VR with anything less than a 6900 XT or a 3080 Ti. The experience will not be a satisfactory one. You have been warned. Alright, fourth on this list and second on the hopeless wish list, but perhaps a little more hopeful, would be for them to introduce third-person mode in the game. Now, for those who haven't tried third-person mode, there is a third-person mod available on Nexus that gives you an idea of the potential that lies in having a third-person mode in the game. And I say potential because the mod isn't perfect. The game wasn't made to be in third person. There are bugs, animations are really janky. I mean, it makes sense that they didn't bother animating V's movements and such. But that said, it's possible and the mod shows what is possible. It would take less work than VR support and be vastly more popular because, well, it would just be baked into the game. Not everyone has a VR headset, but anyone who plays the game could try third-person mode. So maybe 2.1 introduces third-person mode. Anyway, lastly, number 5 on the list of things that I'd like to see in 2.1, and I'm gonna cheat a little here and say number 5 is a bunch of smaller things combined. I'd like to see more cosmetic customization options for V. Not just in terms of wearables and stuff like that, but also from the base character creator itself. You know, more hairstyles, more face options, maybe a body size slider, a height slider. Okay, I know a height slider is going to be a bit difficult because of how the game is made, but a body size slider, muscles. I mean, yeah, muscles, right? I don't want to have to mod muscles onto my male V, right? Or even mod muscles onto my female V, right? I don't want to have to do that. I want that to be baked into the character creator. You know, so just a little more customization for us to truly create unique Vs for ourselves. Now, I'd also like to see more relationship options, and I'm not talking about just romance options, right? But more friendship options as well. You know, from the multitude of mods available on Nexus, and being on PC myself, I've tried a lot of the mods. We know that expanding friendships, interactions, and relationships with various characters is very possible in the game, and I'm not trying to downplay the amount of effort that the mod authors put into their mods, but these mods show that on the developer front, it wouldn't take that much for them to implement such features into the base game. You know, extended messaging for your romance options. You know what? Maybe it's time that they just opened up the romance options to both genders for every single romance option, if you get what I mean, right? The voice lines are recorded for both sides anyway. The animation fixes are pretty minimal from what I gather. Why not? The world we live in today, I don't see that as a problem, right? So yeah, and I know some of you might be thinking, wait, you know, if you're on PC, you have mods for this anyway, right? So why are you still asking for these gameplay elements to be added into the game? Well, the reason is simple. Right? I am on PC, I have access to mods, but those who are on console don't. That's the first thing. The second thing is, just because I'm on PC and have access to modding doesn't mean I enjoy having 1,000 mods installed on my game. You know, and speaking of having so many mods installed, I guarantee you half of those mods are gonna break as soon as 2.1 hits. And based on what it was like in 2.02, it's going to take at least a month, if not more, for the mods to be fixed and patched and updated to accommodate whatever they change in 2.1, and some of those mods inevitably will not be patched, right? So the more that the developers add into the base game, the better it is for everyone. Not just the console players, but the PC players as well. So anyway, I don't want to go on and on and on about this. This is just a top 5 list. It's supposed to be a short video. So yeah, we'll see, right? The live stream is apparently sometime later today, or it's going to be tonight for me where I am. So I'm definitely going to be watching that live stream just to see what's coming. And let's see how many of this top 5 list actually comes. I mean, honestly, give me like 2, right? Give me at least 2 things from this list. That's all I ask. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thumbs if you liked it, down if you didn't. Let me know in the comment section down below, what are your top 5 things that you'd like to see in patch 2.1? And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care, folks.
Another of God's wonders is long for judgment. I need someone who can hasten